24 coaches, probably maybe 25 or 26 that are adequate, maybe, but they have issues, and I question things about him. And I think that Matt Nagy definitely fits that category. Is that I think he has the ability to be a good coach, but this is what I would say. This is what I would say regarding Matt Nagy's job. If they decided to fire Matt Nagy, I would not freak out, because I think that a new voice in the room sometimes could help, especially if it's one that maybe Justin Fields clicks with more. I'm not sure. I don't know how Justin Fields or the defensive guys feel about Matt Nagy. I think that's really important. I think the players will ultimately decide who the coach is. If they don't like Matt Nagy, if they're sick of his crap, he's gone. If they do like him, if they rally around him towards the end of the year, he'll come back. That's how I feel about it. The bigger issue to me, a lot of people talk about, is Ryan Pace. But I could talk about that for a while. Do we have any more topics? I was going to say I could break that one down really quick, but I don't want to get too off topic.
No, go for it. I was just going to ask you about we did the preview for the I was just going to kind of close it out with the preview for the Bears and Cardinals. Okay. If you want to break something down, dude, go for it. All for it. Go for it.
All right. So with Ryan Pace, a lot of people have talked about this too. Ryan Pace, just like Matt Nagy, is a mixed bag. They're mixed bags. Is Ryan Pace a good GM? I would argue overall, no, he's not. And here's why. It has nothing to do with his talent acquisition. His talent acquisition is about as good as anybody else in the NFL. But his financial management, which is literally your only real job at the end of the day when you're the GM, is awful. It's absolutely terrible. His understanding of the salary cap is that of a third grader. So that for that reason, Ryan Pace should be fired. Absolutely.
You're hurt.
He's a dirt. He's an absolute dirt when it comes to signing people and making sure, for instance, the Quinn pickup. That was absolutely foolish. You spent $13 million on pass rushing when you already spent $50 million on pass rushing. It made no sense. And he's an old pass rusher, Robert Quinn was. He's past his prime. So it was absolutely foolish. And now Robert Quinn's playing really good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here mad that Robert Quinn has 5 sacks. But at the same time, we can't afford that. If we had to pay Justin Fields right now, we couldn't.
Yeah.
It's stupid. You're an idiot. You're one of the dumbest.
Or go out and get him if you have to. Maybe put some veteran linemen around him. You couldn't do that either.
Can't do any of that. So your flexibility is terrible. So now this year, this offseason, you have to gut the whole roster. That's not a good GM. If at any moment in your GMing, you have to gut your entire roster just to make it work, you messed up. You're not a good GM. So by what I would say about Ryan Pace is, yes, he discovered Jalen Johnson, Roquan Smith, Cody Whitehair, David Montgomery, bunch of good players, no question. His talent acquisition is pretty good, but his understanding of the salary cap is elementary and foolish. So that is what I say about the Bears front office and their coaching staff. They're a complete mixed bag. They have good things about them, and they have some really, really dumb, bad things about them. So that's all I have to say about the Bears. As far as the matchup,
Fields still has broken ribs. And there's no reason to rush him back. So Andy Dalton is the starter. This is as far as I can see, is an audition for everyone. Because we know who the future of the Chicago Bears franchise is. It's Justin Fields, it's Roquan Smith, it's David Montgomery, it's Jalen Johnson, and everyone else is kind of just. Probably Khalil Mack too. But everyone else is kind of just auditioning, see, okay, where do I fit in this situation, including the coaches.
Who's going to be here next year situation.
Exactly. And Andy Dalton is probably saying, I want to get out of here. Maybe he likes being the backup for Justin Fields. And if that's the case, fine. You know what? He's not a horrible backup. I wouldn't mind keeping him around, especially at his rate, only $10 million. It's not too bad. But Andy Dalton is going to try to show out. So I assume that they're going to that Andy Dalton's going to play pretty well. I would assume. Now, is everyone else going to play pretty well? I don't know about that. I don't know if the line's going to hold up for him. I don't know if the run game will get going. We'll see. But I agree. I think you told me off script something like, or off camera, that if Nagy loses this game or something like that, this is a big game for him.
I put it in the script notes.
Is that what it was? Yeah.
So
it's a big game. Yeah, tell me about that.
Question to you would be, so let's ask it in here, right? My biggest question to my buddy over here, the Bears fan: if the Bears get blown out in this game and they aren't competitive, does Nagy lose his job?
I mean, it's been like that for the last 3 weeks. Everyone asks, "Oh, if he loses, does he lose his job?" And I think that maybe it's one of two things is happening here. Either they really are going to stick with Matt Nagy, or they're actively looking for his replacement, and he's just kind of there. And I don't know which one of those things are true, but I don't think that anything that happens next week will have any impact on that decision. I think that decision was made either before or after the Lions game. And what I mean by that is this. So I really believe that rumor that came out that if he lost to the Lions, then, and I really think this matters in Chicago. Like, a lot of people don't think this. They're like, well, look at the overall body of work.
Yeah, isn't that a division
game? It does
game?
matter. It's the freaking Lions, dude. Like, you have to beat you cannot. We're the Bears. Like, you don't lose. So, like, we know, like, this is a known thing. So I really do think that maybe there's a chance, and I don't know if this is the case, but there's a chance that, like, it's like Rick said, they're not gonna fire him until after the season. So if they decide to fire him, they're gonna wait till, I think now they're gonna wait till after the season to fire him. But if they're not, then they made that decision based on the Lions game. They said, okay, well, even though we're down bad and we have all these injuries, we still beat the Lions, right? We're still going to beat the Lions under Matt Nagy. So that's kind of what I think they maybe thought. But if they didn't think that, then Ted Phillips is like, well, he's going to be fired, but at the end of the season, so we'll just look at the players that he drafted and kind of see what we want to keep.
You guys, the Bears almost did lose to the Lions. Like,
we almost did.
Lost to the Lions.
And that is, almost isn't losing, though. So I think that they definitely, you know what I mean? Like, that is a thought process. It's like, well, they didn't lose, though. It's like they did beat the Lions, and they usually beats the Lions. So I don't know, honestly, what Ted Phillips wants to do. Because you notice how I didn't say Ryan Pace? I'm fairly certain Ryan Pace is going to get fired for how he handled the I don't know about Matt Nagy, but I'm fairly certain the GM is going to get fired by the end of the season. I think that by the end of the year.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. He's the
GM president,
Pace, right? Ryan Pace.
Or he's the GM, not the president. Ted Phillips is the president. Pace is the GM.
So
I think he's getting fired. I think Pace will be fired. And I don't think Pace is a bad GM, but I think he handled this year so badly that they are going to move on from him as an executive, because yes, he did have a few good talent accusations, but here's the thing. Pace drafted Trubisky and traded Jordan Howard, right? Those are two really bad things that he did. And also Matt Nagy's the one that really wanted Justin Fields. So Ted Phillips is going to look at that and say, well, I like Justin Fields. Matt Nagy's the one who wanted him. I'm not saying he's going to make Matt Nagy the president, but he might look at like, okay, well, let's talk to a new GM, see what the GM wants to keep Matt Nagy.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That might keep him from getting fired. It's possible Matt Nagy might not get fired because of that, because if he made a few good decisions in that. But I think Ryan Pace is gone. I think Ryan Pace by the end of the season is gone because somebody has to have the axe for how bad the salary cap was handled, and who else can get that axe besides Ryan Pace? The salary cap was just absolutely destroyed, and that's the thing. I do think he said he needed to grind the clock out to beat the Bum Lions. Exactly, but we did win though. Okay, highlights, we won. So you didn't lose to the Lions. I did say I remember thinking that, like, okay. We cannot lose to the Lions. If we lose to the Lions, then I am out on Nagy. You're gone. But we didn't lose. Yeah, we had to.
I remember. I text you at the end of that game.
We didn't lose.
I text you at the end with like 5 minutes to go, and I was like, "If you guys lose to the Lions, like Nagy should, dude, they should just take Matt. If you guys lost to the Lions, they should go down there and take Matt Nagy's fob to get into the building, like right on the spot.
Out of here.
Yeah, seriously, because." The Lions are terrible, dude. Like, that's
And it's kind of a pride thing too. It's like, all right, we can lose to the Packers a couple times when we're injured or whatever. We can lose to the Vikings maybe. You can't lose to the Lions, especially when they're like 0-8. Like this is not the Calvin Johnson Lions.
So let's like dive into it a little bit. So offensively, what do you think? I take it here. So first of all, let's get one thing perfectly clear. I think you guys should just shut down Fields for the year.
Agreed.
You should just shut him down. And just say, look, Justin, you're the future. Andy Dalton's just a backup. We are not going to risk your long-term health so you can get killed out there with no offensive line and no help. Like, no, we're going to keep you on the bench and just let you recover and be fine. And Andy Dalton can be the sacrificial lamb and just finish the season off how it ever goes.
Until his ribs are literally 150% better, like to the point where he's itching to get back on the field, then no, keep him on the bench. There's no reason to rush him back. We're not winning anything this year. We probably won't make the playoffs. I said that after week 6, I think, because I realized like how disoriented our offensive line was. I was just like, there's no way we're gonna be with this offensive line. There's no way we can even compete in our own division. Like, there's just no way. So yeah, it is what it is.
The thing that's weird to me about that, it's such because me and you had talked in like week 4, and I remember saying like the interior. Me and you talked like week 4 about the Chicago Bears interior line, the center and the 2 guards, and they weren't they were serviceable. They weren't like terrible, but dude, the offensive line, the wheels have fallen off that O line, all of it now. The interior,
it's a unit, tackle,
it's all bad.
When Whitehair, it doesn't matter how good Whitehair is. If everyone else around him sucks, it doesn't matter because he'll have one guy and then everyone else is So like that goes back to why they need to fire Ryan Pace, because Ryan Pace looks at this terrible offensive line in the offseason last year and goes, it's okay. All right, fine. I'll just spend like $20 million more on the defense. Whatever. Who cares? And that right there is fireable. I'm sorry, especially when you're going to draft a rookie quarterback and do that. What are you, stupid?
Yeah, like, no, you just said what I was going to bring up to you. Like why, if you weren't going to address the offensive line in the draft, why draft your like next franchise quarterback? Because he's going to be running for his life.
Derp, like for real, like absolutely, that's ridiculous. Like, yeah, you did make the right choice, and I think everyone says that Matt Nagy chose Justin Fields. If that's true, and Justin Fields, I mean, he already has shown flashes of really, greatness. I wouldn't say like he's, Deshaun Watson status yet, but he's shown flashes of being really talented. So if that's true, it'd be hard for me to say, all right, fire Matt Nagy, because he just drafted this kid and he's made it to the playoffs 2 of the last 4 years. I kind of want to give Matt Nagy one more year. If it were me, like gun to my head, it's my choice. I'm going to give Matt Nagy one more, maybe 2 more years. But Ryan Pace is fired.
You have a new GM. Like, let's say you get rid of Pace and you put a new GM in place. It's like, all right, let's see how Nagy and the new GM kind of vibe. And if they don't, then we'll fix that. We'll fix that problem at the end of the season next year.
And if the GM comes in, if you hire a new GM says, nah, Nagy's the problem. Fine, that's fine. With like if he wants to fire,
that's
but
that's
fine
what I mean.
too.
That's you have to test the waters and be like, all right, how does the new GM feel about Nagy? Does he think he can work with him or not? And if he can't work with him, you're out. See you later.
Then you're out. Bye. Yeah. You gotta find something new. I definitely think that Pace, and I liked Pace for a while. I did think that Pace. That's the thing. Pace is a mixed bag. I think he'll get a job somewhere else doing something, at least as a scout. He does have talent acquisition skills, but that whole like we said, drafting a quarterback in the first round, moving up to draft a quarterback, and just completely not addressing the offensive line, looking at that offensive line and saying that's okay, that's fireable. It's a fireable offense. So that's where we're at.
Not only that, like that's just common sense. Like
it is.
If you draft your franchise quarterback, and from last season how bad your offensive line is, that's the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard. Like, okay, you got your quarterback first. Now in the second and third rounds, get you some tackles to protect them.
You have to, or you have to pay. You can't pay for Robert Quinn. You can't pay for, I forgot, there's like two or three. You can't pay for Nick Foles. You should have cut him. What are you doing? You paid $8 million for Nick Foles?
They should have let Foles walk and use that money to sign an offensive lineman. They should.
There's like 3 or 4 guys there in the roster that are just like sitting on like a collective $45 million that you could have paid 2 offensive linemen for. Like, that's $20 million in offensive linemen. You could get a lot of offensive linemen for $20 million a pop. Like, are you kidding? There's a lot of guys out there that are available for 20 mil. You could trade for a few of them, but instead he looked at our guys, our offensive linemen, and said, "Oh, this is fine. Here you go, Justin. Good luck." Or here you go, Andy. And that's the thing about another thing to defend Matt Nagy. Another, coming to his defense a little bit. He wanted to start Andy Dalton. Everyone was against him. Even people in the locker room turned on him.
Me and you were questioning it.
Everybody was
when it happened.
And he said, this offensive line sucks. I can't put my rookie quarterback behind this guy's. He was right. So to defend him again, he was actually right about that. The kid broke his ribs.
I remember me and you did an episode. Me and you did I think episode 11. We were talking about it.
I was wrong.
we were talking about it, and we were like, "What is he doing?" And the reality of it is he's
maybe he's still something.
He's trying to not get Justin Fields. It's funny how me and you talked, and we also talked about just the worry that Justin Fields could get hurt because of this offensive line. And look, he's got broken ribs.
And the guy and Matt Nagy was right, and it's crazy. Like it's hard to sit here and trash Matt Nagy or even say that he's the reason why we're losing. When one, he hired Bill Lazar. He hired Bill Lazar. Everyone's like, "Oh, Bill Lazar, make Bill Lazar the head coach." Well, who hired Bill Lazar? Matt Nagy did. It wasn't Ryan Pace. So that he's part of his staff. Everyone loves Bill Lazar. He's a great offensive coordinator. Matt Nagy's his coach. And then he also hired Desai, who's a great defensive coordinator. So Matt Nagy has put himself around good coaches. He was the only one in Chicago that was right about Andy Dalton putting him in. Nobody wanted to hear it. Everyone, including me, nobody wanted to hear it. He was right. And the only one who, in Ryan Pace's people, in the background, we're talking shit to the media that, "Oh, we'd love to see Justin Fields in," and stuff like that. So Ryan Pace seems like he's the issue here. It seems like that Nagy wants to focus more on the offense and Ryan Pace wants to focus more on the defense. And it looks like Ryan Pace needs to go because we don't need to focus on the defense. We have tons of defensive talent. For God's sake, we need to get that offense fixed. And that's just always been our issue in Chicago. But yeah. Rick says, "I'm glad I heard this side of Nagy." Well, I'm just trying to play the advocate for him. I mean, I'm not saying he's innocent.
He actually
is wishy-washy.
Like me and you said, he actually made the right choice. He said, "You know what? I am not going to sacrifice. I'm not going to use Justin Fields as my sacrificial lamb for the season. You know what, Andy? Guess what, bro? Go."
It took the Chicago media raking Nagy over the coals for months for Nagy to finally say, "Fine, we'll give him a chance." Or a month and a half, rather. I guess it was 5 weeks. So it was a month and a week. But it took a while. They were just trashing. "Oh, man, no, you're so stupid. We need a new coach," all this stuff. After 3 weeks already.
No, the media for a good 3 weeks was on. They were on him.
And I said a few things, so I'm guilty of it. I really am. I can't even say. I'm just saying. I don't know.
So,
he's not innocent.